Hello people, so in the last video we ended up the font part, so we get the video stream from the camera, and once put in the canvas we can detect movement on it, and with some shapes, some static shapes on top of the canvas we can detect where the movement is done. So that was the code from last time. We loop on all the shapes we drawn and see if the average pixel data is significantly modified. Then we can send a particular command. So in the last video we simply sent the average pixel modification, but the idea is to send a command to the drone depending on which area of the canvas movement is detected. So in that video we're going to look at the backend, because the front is basically done. So this is the drone I mentioned in the introduction. Sorry. So this is a Tello DJI drone. So it's a pretty cheap drone, and it's interesting because the SDK is open. I mean, it says that there's some information that is accessible to communicate with it in the way you want. So I'm gonna go to the documentation. I opened it already, obviously. So if you just type Tello Drone SDK, you have the user guide. So it's a short document, but we need a few critical information. So here it says that you can connect to it using a UDP port. So this UDP is a protocol, just like TCP/IP protocol, but it's more used for aircrafts and things like this, among other things. And in order to be able to send commands, they provide the IP address and the port used to communicate with it, and explain that you simply need to set up a UDP client on whatever device you're using to communicate with the drone, and then you can simply send commands using that port. You also have two additional ports for the Tello state that we're not going to use, and also for the video stream, because that drone has a camera. So this is a different port. And then you have a list of all the possible commands. So you get the first command that allows you to enter the SDK mode. And then you have all the commands you could expect, like takeoff, land, stream, all the directional commands. And you have at the end some read-only commands. We're going to use battery to obtain the current battery percentage. So in the first place, we're simply going to set up the client, the UDP client, and send the command battery just to check the battery percentage of the drone. So how to set up a UDP client? We're going to use a Node app, so I can actually start doing that. So the front folder is where the React app is. I'm going to create a back folder where I'm going to make this Node app. So I'm initiating a new project. And it will be a simple file. So I just create touch. I'm creating an index.js file. Then if I go to Sublime, it should be here. Let's write a script, so it can be start, and instead of using Node, I'm going to use Node Moon, because then I'm going to see the mistakes in real time, and the name of my file, and that's it. Then index, it's empty, so we're going to have to set up the UDP client. You have a built-in module in Node called Node.js. So if you look at the official documentation, it says that it provides an implementation of UDP datagram sockets. That's exactly what we want. So you simply need to require the package and to create a socket using that protocol. And since that module it extends the event emitter class. You can actually use events. So once you have your socket, you can respond to event with callbacks, and that's how it works. You also need to bind your instance to a specific port, and we do know the specific port. So let's just do that. Gonna require Tiguan. Then I'm gonna create the socket. So it's gonna be Tiguan dot create socket, as I said, UDP4, and you need to bind this to a port. So then I can go back to the doc. I have the IP address here and the port, so it's that one. So I'm gonna create a constant here. The host is gonna be 192.168.10.1, and the port is 8889. Yes, that's it. All right. So that's the first step. I might need to install Tiguan. Could be useful. Okay, that's the first thing. So how do we send comment? As it says in the doc, you need to send that comment, and then we're going to try to send the battery comment. How do you send comments? Then it's also in the Tiguan documentation. So you have a few things, and at some point you have the send comment. So you need to provide a few options. You have the message itself, so it's going to be the comment. The offset, we don't need that here. The length of the message, the port, the address. So that's what the DGA drone documentation is giving us, and a callback if you need it. And then there's a few explanation on how you have to provide that. But simply doing, you have your instance and you have the send command. You need to give the message. I mean, let's call it comment. The offset at 0. Then the command length. So I'll put the command after. So don't say this should be a string. Then you have the port, or is it the host first? No, it's the port, then the host. And the callback, no, we don't put any callback. Okay, what's the command? So we're gonna have two commands, so let's create an array of these two commands. So that's gonna be command and battery. So this is what the doc is telling us. I'm gonna need to loop over that, so it's gonna be command for each simple array, and then I'm gonna get a command, and this for each command I'm gonna send that. So this will allow me to send that specific command to drone for both of these elements of the array. I can put that in a function, sending comments, and that will be inside this. All right. So, okay. That should be good for the commands. Okay, so now I need, I will need to execute that function at some point so that I will send the command. When do I send them? I want to send them only when I specifically move in some area of my front end app. So I need a way to communicate with my front end and know when an instruction will be sent from the front to the back, and once this instruction is received, I will execute that function that will send comments to the drone. So that's the thing. To do this, we're going to use socket.io. So let's go to the socket.io documentation. I always like to go to documentation. So this is a very used library that enables real-time, bidirectional, and event-based communication between the browser and the server. That's exactly what you need. So you have a Node.js server for the server API and a JavaScript client library for the browser. So you can go first to the server API. Okay. So it explains you, it can go very complicated, but the basic is basically you request the package, you execute it, it creates a server instance, I mean it creates a socket, and you can use HTTP in that. There's many ways you can do it, and you have to listen to a specific port. So yes, I'm not going to use HTTP because you get a standalone version. It can work without it. So basically, I'm going to request. I'm going to call it IO maybe. So it's going to be require socket .io. Or is it a dash? I don't know. It's .io. Socket.io. And you need to execute that and you listen to report. So let's first install it, maybe npm install socket.io. Okay. So we need to have a port where we could communicate with our frontend. So that port here, I'm going to provide. I'm going to use this one. It needs to be the same on the front-end side. So if I go to my front app, I need to also request socket.io here, but I need to request the client side, so I can go to the client API, and the way you request it, it's instead of socket.io, you just request socket.io.client. If we use import, we can use that, so I'm going to simply copy that, paste it here, then I need to install it. So I'm going to go to my front folder, and here I'm going to install that. So once I have this, I need to create an instance of that. So I'm going to call it socket. And this function that we use at some point in the documentation, I mean, there's also a lot of ways you can do it, but basically you create your socket and you listen to your localhost, where the localhost and the port you actually need. So in our case, we're simply gonna listen to HTTP localhost, and here we're gonna specify the port that we specified in our backend. So here, so this instance listen to that port where the communication will be sent from the front, meaning here. And here we have an instance. So this I need to export. Once I get this, each time I use that socket in my React app, I will be able to use socket.io how I want. And socket.io is also based on events. So if I go to the canvas and instead of console logging the average of the pixel data manipulation, I would simply need to call socket and emit an event that I could call if I want, for example, battery request. So socket, so this is the socket I created here. I export it, so it's fine, but now I need to import it here. So okay, so this is the emission of the event from socket. So now I need on the backend to explain what I do once I get this event. So it's going to be io dot on. So it's 7 bits. So if you go to the server side, yeah, it explains everything. I mean, it's you attach sockets to the mid. Anyway, you simply need to if you get a connection, then you have socket and that on. So if you get an event, so the event we called battery request, so this is gonna emit this on the front. It's gonna emit a battery request. I go on my backend. If I get a battery request event, if I receive this, then I'm gonna be able to use a callback. And in that callback, what do? I send my function. I call my function. So this means that I'm listening to that port that is actually active on my React app. If I get a connection, so this is like it has to be a connection, and if I get this event, battery request, so this is what I specifically send from the front, then I'm gonna executing that function. That function, well, we're gonna execute the two commands I have in this array. Okay, so this setup. Now what we need to do is, because all this is to send the command. Now we need to listen to the drone if it's actually going to return something. So I need to use that socket because this is used to communicate with my front. This is used to communicate with the drone. So I need to listen on the drone side, and if I get a message, so this is not in the doc, but it has to be if there is a message, then I will get something, and that something I can console log it. Message from drone, and so that should be it. Here maybe I can console log receiving instruction from my React app, and then I'll send the command. And normally I should also receive the message from the drone because I'm listening on a specific message. So this is a bit confusing maybe because this has to be, it's like this, because that's how events are working in Node. This is what I specifically write. It's fine, it's an event I create myself. And that's it. Maybe on the canvas, because this will be emitted, this event will be emitted each time the average is like higher than 15 for all the shapes. So let's maybe put it like at 30 so that we don't like put so many commands at the same time. It doesn't change anything. So that should do it. Did I install the client? Yes. Okay. So I need to start my drone first. I hope I have enough battery. Start my drone. I need to start. Let's just restart the server on the front, and I need to start my Node app on the back. So it's also npm start. There's no error. So that seems good. Let's go back to the browser. Let's refresh. that is the downside of using React. This can be a bit slow sometimes. Okay, so I click on Get Camera. Click on Get Canvas, and this is working. So now nothing happened. Why? Because I need to connect to the network of my drone. So why is it not appearing? It's appearing here. So I'm connecting there. Receiving instruction from my React app. So this means that like I did that. So I send instruction to the Node app. Why is it not working? Maybe I think I should restart that because I'm in the other port. So I'm moving. Okay. So receiving instruction from my React app. I try not to move anymore now. So if I go back to the code, receiving instruction from my React app. So this means that on the backend, I received that battery request here because on the front, I emitted that event here. So I received it. I console log that, receiving instruction from my React app. So this is work. Then this function is called. I send instruction. And then it appears that with my UDP4, my UDP socket, I received that message event, and I received something because I console log message from drone, and I get the message, which is a buffer. So buffer is like type of data. So if I simply convert it to string and go back to my font, I'm gonna move, and here it goes. So first we got OK, and then we get 87, which is the battery percentage. Indeed, if you go to the Tello documentation, like the command, the possible response is OK or L. So we got an OK for that, and for the battery, question mark, we obtain the current battery percentage, which is 87. So yes, each time I'm gonna move, I'm gonna resend that instruction, that command to the drone, and it's gonna answer with my battery level. So that's it. We get successfully a connection between our front end app, React app, our Node tiny app, and the drone. So each time I do something, see now the battery level decreased a bit. This is battery it's pretty weak. So each time I do something on the front end, if I move, then I can successfully send commands to the drone, and he gives me back what he can give me back. So that's gonna be it for this video, and in the next video I'm gonna set up like all the specific command depending on the area you move on the canvas. Thanks for listening.